Welcome back, sci-fi fans, to the Science Fictionary podcast. Not really a podcast anymore, is it?
Show. Whoops, sorry, I was trying to just now.
2 weeks in a row you've done that.
But it just now got on to the fact that we're here, so now I can talk to people in the chat. Hi, people in the chat. Hi, people in the chat.
So we're here to talk about the Ms. Marvel finale. And real quick, before we get going, it's kind of going to be just kind of a general, how we felt about the episode, the character arcs. Before I do really intense breakdowns, I like to watch things more than once.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really excited about doing this thing where we do the episode sooner, but it means I probably only got to watch it once before we do. So we are working on a round table. We're going to have to see who all can show up, but a lot of guests, hopefully, going to come in and everybody get a chance to give their 2 cents on Miss Marvel.
Yes. And I think David and Maddie may do something.
Yeah,
too,
David, work has kept David away the last couple of weeks, so I think
he will
do a separate video sometime over the next few days to share his opinion. I will share a little bit about what he sent us right before we started tonight.
One might call it a tirade.
Yeah, I think he hasn't liked it quite as much as we did, but that's fair.
Yeah.
That's kind of normal around here, as we generally get varying degrees
outlier.
of. Yeah, it's always a different person, but
yeah, usually keeps it interesting.
All right, so it's over. We've seen the finale. I will definitely say now that this is my second favorite MCU Disney Plus series.
It finished really strong.
And it pushed real hard. If it had been, the only reason it doesn't push past Hawkeye for me is Hawkeye was geared for my age group. Mm-hmm. This was geared for a little younger. And there's nothing at all wrong with that. I'm actually really happy that they did that. It was time to do that. Mm-hmm. So I'm very glad that they did that. But because it's not necessarily all geared towards me, it falls a little short of Hawkeye for me. Mm-hmm. But I feel like they're real even in the way the stories were told. Mm-hmm. This was more creative. I feel like both of them have a lot of heart and charm. Mm-hmm. They're just, I think, the Hawkeye, the kind of the diehard elements and stuff like that, really just a little more my speed. But overall, like if I was just going to objectively break down the two series, I would say they're pretty neck and neck.
That's fair. I feel like that's fair.
I think that I would just choose Hawkeye personally.
Yeah. And this one finished really strong. I feel like Marvel series. What is the plural of series? It's just series?
It's just series.
Who knew? Marvel series. Still doesn't sound right. Either way.
Then go with series.
Okay. Okay, there has been a trend in Marvel series. This is the same problem. Either way, they don't always finish strong. WandaVision was a great show, and the finale was fine, but it wasn't better than anything that came before it.
No. You just had a fight during it. It was a solid arc. And I know for a lot of people that's their favorite Disney Plus series, and I will admit they took big risks in that one.
Well, the thing was, like, the shtick was up by the time you got to the end. And that was kind of part of the charm of the first half of WandaVision. Was the mystery of what does it mean, all the speculation and the questions and the
and of course we are going to at some point have to talk about with WandaVision, sort of. I mean, it doesn't taint the series, but it was definitely setting up Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, which is not that high on a lot of people's lists.
Yeah.
So does it the setup fall flat now that the follow through was considered subpar?
I didn't mind Multiverse of Madness. I mean, it wasn't exactly my thing. Horror just isn't.
I think that's always the risk. Everybody's always like, bring directors in, let them do their own thing.
Right.
Well, Multiverse of Madness is why that's risky.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you brought and they did pull some things out, but you brought Sam Raimi in and you very much let him make a Sam Raimi movie.
I am way more of a Sam Raimi movie than even Spider-Man in a lot of ways.
But I also don't agree with the fact that, oh, Marvel movies are totally cookie cutter and directors have never gotten to kind of put their stamp on things, because the Russo brothers stamp is all over the MCU.
Absolutely. But Sam Raimi has a little bit more of a niche.
And it's the kind of wackiness.
He makes weird horror movies. Mm-hmm. So whenever,
and that's why Sam Raimi fans love him.
Right. But it was a really distinct, you know, it was like, let's make the Evil Dead and Marvel.
Right. So yeah.
I mean, I think it was a good movie.
I think it's a good movie. It's very mid-tier for me.
Mm-hmm. Which is fine. Something's got to be there.
Yeah. No, for sure. I just think
always be up in the ante.
I think with what movies was Multiverse of Madness, we've had 3 movies this year, right? We had Multiverse of Madness. There was Spider-Man this year. It was this year, right?
Spider-Man was this year.
And Thor.
Yeah.
So we've had 3. Mm-hmm. This is the bottom of those 3 for me.
I mean, yeah, but.
Well, yeah, but in fairness, like, you know, Thor's kind of been a mixed reaction film, and
I don't know. Everybody's decided like they have to hate it.
I agree.
I feel like part of the reaction to Doctor Strange and Thor has been just people deciding they have to hate it.
So what I'd like to go by is Cinema Score.
Okay.
And that's what we're actually seeing. So Cinema Score, if you're not aware, actually poll people coming out of theaters.
Okay.
And it is the lowest cinema score for any Marvel film.
Which is
now it's a B plus. So
which one? Which movie?
Thor.
Thor, really?
Which is really kind of an odd thing for me. I loved it.
I really, the
more I dwell on that movie, the more I like it. And I even told somebody the other day, the day after we watched it, I think I liked Ragnarok better, but the more I think about it, that movie may have a lot more heart to it than Ragnarok. Ragnarok is a blast.
Oh, Ragnarok is so fun.
But that's another one. Like, if you're not a fan of Taika Waititi's humor, you're not going to love those movies. And
and some people just don't.
And that's the risk, is some people just don't like that kind of humor. I think for my generation, like, that's Taika Waititi is very much of my generation. Mm-hmm. And that's, it's sort of that kind of wave of kind of off the radar directors a little bit. They're not your big mainstream Hollywood directors, but they weren't. He is. I mean, now you can't say that. And you couldn't say that about Edgar Wright, but I mean, Edgar Wright's a big commodity now. He just doesn't like to do a lot of movies. He's very picky. But like people like it's kind of like Edgar Wright. I mean, they're kind of similar. Mm-hmm. Waititi's a little more wacky.
Yeah.
But they both do very silly humor. And man, if you don't like it, you don't like it.
That's fair.
It's like some people watch Monty Python, right? Python's a very good early example. The Python Crew's a very good early example of this kind of stuff. Like, you either like it or you don't.
I mean, doesn't everybody like it?
They don't, though. Like, if you go watch reactions to it online, you will find people who are like, what the hell did y'all make me watch?
Really?
Yeah. And so because
I don't enjoy all of Monty Python sometimes because it's a little dumb. Especially like this show.
Flying Circus?
Flying Circus. Like, every once in a while it's like, all right, that's just like a little bit much. But oh my gosh. The Holy Grail. Now, I mean, it gets a little bit like that close to sacrilegious sometimes, which is never going to be my favorite. However, I mean, like King Arthur. Wait, what is the Holy Grail? What is it called?
Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
And the Holy Grail. Jeez, y'all, yeah. My brain is just not here today.
Yeah. So I mean, but like I said, like with people like Edgar Wright, Taika Waititi, older things like Python, You either like it or you don't. It's just not everybody's cup of tea. And I think that's always, when you do a movie like that, it's always going. And the same could be said of Sam Raimi, as far as different genre, mostly, not entirely. Sam Raimi, it's sort of wacky and weird, and some people love it and some people don't. And it's just, it was that way before they did Marvel films. I mean, their stuff's just very kind of mixed as far as the way people react to it. Joker, we are still going to try to set up a roundtable sometime in the next few days, if you don't mind, when you get a chance. Well, you don't do Twitter, so if you want to like shoot me an email at the sciencefictionary@gmail.com, and let me know what some good times for you are. And I will get back with you about trying to set up a roundtable. We want to get a lot of voices on and would love to have you. And thanks for joining us tonight. And so we're going to let's kind of transition back. We've moved further and further from our topic.
Yeah, it happens.
But so overall,
how did we start there?
I don't even remember. But overall, what did you think about the series?
I really enjoyed the series. I thought it was sweet. I was really glad whenever we moved past the, like, we're going to be sneak around. I mean, like, I feel like we're going to sneak around our parents subplot in superhero movies about teenagers is just, it gets old really, really fast. And so I'm glad that and it's not surprising because like teenagers tend to be a little bit that way about life. So it's reasonable to think that, okay, she's going to try and be sneaky, but it's also reasonable. Like they have a good family dynamic. So I think I'm really glad that they decided to go that direction.
Right. But one thing I like about that, as far as her not hiding it, and it's actually the conversation she has with her dad, the first conversation she has with her dad after he knows. And she says, you didn't raise me to do nothing for people that need help.
Right.
And I think that's very much bringing the religion back into play. Is like, is different as Christianity and Islam can be in places. There are still some core tenets. Like you have gifts, you're meant to use them.
Right.
You're not meant to hide them away.
Right. Don't be hiding that light under a bushel.
Joker, that email is the sciencefictionary@gmail.com. Marisha's going to post it here in the chat for you too. But so I like that, from the perspective of the family. Like once she has these gifts, she's meant to use them, and they don't try to pull her back from that.
Right.
I feel like the show as a whole was the family dynamic was really sweet, start to finish. Last episode, we had some really, really good generational healing going on, which is really good and something I can relate to. I know everybody doesn't necessarily relate to that, but it really kind of hits home for me.
Yep. I mean, and that's an important part of being a functional family, because right, there's always going to be imperfect things in your past, in your family's history. There are going to be painful things. There are going to be people who maybe could have dealt with painful things better. But ultimately, if we can all, still love each other, and I think that's a really important. Especially kind of in the culture that we're in right now, where it's become even easier than ever to just sort of write your family off, to have story, and for a really long time, stories about teenagers have been like teenagers cool, parents stupid. I mean, that's been a trend in entertainment, right? Directed towards this demographic for a really long time. So it's always really great to see families functioning the way that families ought to. And especially, I mean, obviously it's fantastical and it's weird and it's crazy, but I feel like the family dynamic also makes it a lot more grounded.
Right.
It feels like it's a real world kind of thing.
So, Joker, I did check out the videos that you had directed us to the last couple of weeks. I did. After last week's episode, I got on and watched several of those videos. I really like the guy. I like a lot of what he had to say. And I do agree as far as, I don't know how much of it was reshot. And I guess eventually we'll kind of get better specifics on how much it was reshot. But I do understand there was some reshooting. If all of that is true, this will be the first place, I think, at any point that I have applauded Bob Chapek. Because of what the reshoots were about, regardless of what the reshoots were about, if this is the result, then they made the right choice.
Yeah. I mean, and things reshoot a lot.
Well, but it sounded, again, I don't know where this comes from as any sort of official source. You probably won't ever hear it from an official source.
Yeah.
That it was a little heavy-handed, politically, religiously, and a little more woke, and that's true. Pasha does know people working on the series, and so that was where I heard that initially. So yeah, it sounds like it sat on the shelf waiting to be released, and they ended up calling it back in, and this was the result of the reshoots. And
I thought they did a really nice job of addressing things. I mean, there's no mistaking like the cultural bias of your characters, right? They are who they are. Their culture is what it is. And their point of view is obviously,
and that's fair. Like, you want your character to have a realistic point of view.
Exactly. Like, you don't want your Pakistani characters to be a mouthpiece of, the British Empire, right? That's not going to be realistic. But the story, and the story was inherently religious and inherently Pakistani, without, like it really just beating you over the head with any of it. I felt, and we've had this discussion before. I don't like to be preached at for my entertainment. Which is why I tend to avoid Christian movies, because I don't like to be preached at. It's not my favorite thing. But I thought that they did a nice job kind of walking that line here in this story.
Right.
So
yeah, no, I thought they addressed some important things while not being heavy-handed or even just like beating you over the head with it. I didn't feel like I didn't, again, I'm the same way. I don't watch entertainment to be preached at.
No.
So
go listen to a preacher.
And I don't, and like Marisha said, I don't watch things that I might even 100% agree with, like a lot of Christian cinema that just want to beat you over the head, but beat you over the head with some subpar version of the gospel.
Do I think,
if it's even the gospel?
Yeah. Yeah. And or some sort of like, rah social version of, and that's always the thing about things like this, is you're not entertainment is very rarely going to present a particularly well-rounded view, right, of a religion. So the best you can hope for is that it is representative. And so, not being Muslim, but from what I know about Islam and just what I know about Abrahamic religions in general, it seems to be representative in a positive way, which I think is, what I think that's what the story needed.
Yeah. So overall, let's talk just Kamala's arc. We get the full. Well, let's just go ahead and talk about the big elephant in the room here. I did not expect to hear the word mutation followed immediately by the X-Men 97 theme.
Right.
But
crazy.
Here we are. And of course, that was David's thought. I think David kind of went on a tirade and a text message here before we started.
He did.
And he's going to do his own video. He's not able to be here tonight, so he will be doing a separate video to break it down, and that'll be good because he hasn't been able to be here for a lot of our breakdowns, and he feels a little differently about the series than we do, I think.
Probably. He would probably feel differently about it still if he watched it with his sisters,
right?
Than if he watched it with his girlfriend.
Yeah. So I am curious to see. I love where the character's going. I love all this. But the fact that we just got our first mutant and that we spent 6 weeks hanging out with this mutant before we knew that what was going on is is interesting. I'm a little shocked that they went that route. Of course, that's and that's actually, Joker, that particular statement that actually reflects David's sentiments exactly. Is why couldn't we just do one or the other? Why did we have to mix these things up and make it overcomplicated? And I to some extent agree. Like, we didn't necessarily need to do Jinn and mutants. And I don't know why they're doing it. I don't know why they chose. I mean, I know why they chose mutant over Eternals.
Inhumans.
I mean, yes, mutants over Inhumans, because that show was a disaster and they didn't want to go back there. But I also think that they might be going to make the two not quite so separate things going forward.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. And I think that the Jinn are still, the Nord dimension, I think is going to turn out to have been some way tied up with the Kree. I think that there's still, there's some kind of connection there. There's it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. We still don't know the whole story, and we probably won't until the Marvels movie. But it's I don't know why. I think with doing Jinn, I know why they did Jinn and mutants. One, because mutant was as close as they wanted to go to making her an Inhuman.
Right.
But I think they're going to maybe connect mutants and Inhumans. It makes no sense to have mutants and Inhumans. It's just confusing for.
Yeah, I mean,
it's confusing for your average moviegoer. I think there's going to be some sort of connecting of those two in some way. I don't know what it'll be. I mean, I think you could very easily, say that people with, a genetic connection, a genetic marker from an Inhuman, descended from Inhumans, could carry a mutated gene. So I don't know. I'm curious where they're going to go, but I think they needed some way they wanted to do that, but they also wanted very much to make her powers more cosmic.
Yeah. Well, and clearly it does.
She's more than just a mutant.
Right. And obviously she has some kind of particular tie to Carol Danvers beyond just, kind of the hero worship she's got going on.
But I like where we left it. We had a lot go on. I mean, what did you think about the scene at the school?
Man, that woman is deplorable.
Yeah, that character they've made pretty horrible. I thought that we were going to get some that maybe we were going to find out she wasn't actually human.
Yeah.
There towards the end, but we didn't. I do wonder, it seems like there's some sort of division going on within the what is it? DODC. I think there's some sort of division brewing there, and maybe some group has it. Maybe even we know now we're getting this Thunderbolts film, and maybe they've got people on the inside in damage control, or some other group that's less than savory has infiltrated.
Either that, or she just personally has an agenda.
Yeah, and I mean, it's possible, since they didn't give us anything, that she was just an asshole.
Yeah, she was very unlikable. But I mean, the scene in the school was, I really thought for a minute there that they were going full on villain with Kamran. Like, there were a couple of minutes there I was like, okay, this is it. This is his breakout moment where he, goes to the dark side, basically.
Yeah.
And I think they definitely flirted with that, but I was a little surprised that that's not the direction they went. But I think it'll be interesting to see where they go with it from here. Because I was really expecting to see him as kind of the anti-hero, or just straight up the villain going forward.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything about the comics, so I don't really know where they're going with that character. We do leave off with him with the red daggers, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with his character. I found his character to be kind of less than compelling there at the end.
Fine.
Like, he's fine, but like, he was almost more interesting if you had just committed to making him a villain.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, you could, but it's probably not the biggest hit. If you make the boyfriend the villain, then you have to have a redemption arc for said boyfriend.
Right.
And then it's problematic.
And of course, looking at it this way, I would say that she's got 3 choices and she's making the worst of the 3, right?
Oh yeah. Like, she's, I don't know. I mean, your red dagger might be a little bit of a wild card too. Bruno's definitely the safe choice. He's such a doll. Who wouldn't go for Bruno? Bruno's a sweetheart. Bruno's very invested in her.
I'm curious to see what they're going to do with Bruno's character. If he shows back up. I mean, I don't know if we're doing a season 2 of this show, or if she just moves straight into the movies from here. I mean, we know she's going to the
That's true.
Going straight to the big screen next. So it'll be I'm curious to see once. That's the thing we don't know yet about these Disney Plus series yet.
Yeah.
If when they move a character to the big screen, will they come back to the small screen after that?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think they will. That's my theory. Oh, I know. Poor Bruno.
So what else? What'd you think about? What was your favorite moment in this episode? What episode? What scene made you cry this week?
Oh, her and her dad there, whenever they're sitting on the roof.
Well, that's really the heart and soul of this show, is the family.
Yeah.
That's why this show, it reminds us so much of the old TGIF shows, Family Matters and that sort of thing, or even older family shows. It shares a lot of similar dynamics.
It does.
And yes, classic 80s style television, and it's something that's been missing from TV for a long time, and I'm really glad that that's where this ended up. And not just for me, like you said, Joker, this wasn't written for me or you. Like, right. I enjoyed it. I think they did a lot of really cool, fun, creative things. It has a lot of charm, but it was written for my kids.
Kind of the irony of it is they did all the really contrived, sitcom, like family drama sitcom tropes in WandaVision. And then they were like, all right, now we're going to straight up make that show.
Right. Well, they did the tropes in WandaVision, except they were all broken.
Yeah. But this is like the real life. I mean, in universe, real life, version of that. But I just really, in the end, whenever, they've got the whole, everybody, stands around her, and you know, and like you've got the whole crew and you've got even the cops standing there, you know. I mean, because like it's just sweet, you know. It's because she is clearly just trying to do the right thing. Like, and they
Well, that's
see
what I
that.
do like. You know, I know to some extent they can be less interesting characters, but it's the reason I'm a Captain America fan, and not just the MCU. Like, I've always been a Captain America fan. There's a reason there's a big giant shield hanging back here, because he's a character that I relate with more, you know, for very personal reasons, relate with
Right.
more than any other comic book character. And you know, one of the things about him is that he is good. He will do the right thing, even if it kills him.
Right.
And it's good to have characters like that. Spider-Man's very much that kind of character a lot of the times, especially this current iteration of Spider-Man is very much, he's going to do the right thing.
Yeah.
There you go. Make sure we put that up there. So if you watch this, I think I think you're the only one in the chat right now. But if anybody sees this tonight before 7:30 Pacific, jump over there and check out Joker Voice.
Awesome. But yeah, I'm enjoying, you know, especially after WandaVision and Loki. And not as much Hawkeye, but definitely WandaVision and Loki, where there was just a lot of, we're going to do a thing. You know, it's just, you know, we're going to do our thing, where I'm going to do my thing. It's that looking out for number one, you know, and ultimately you realize that whole rest of the world be damned. Wanda and Loki are both going to look out for number one. At least at this point in their story. It's really nice to see somebody who's really, I mean, and she's young, and so I'm sure she'll get a little less starry-eyed as we go on, but really looking for the right thing, like really cares about the right thing as such, not just like is going to do the thing that seemed like the thing to do at the moment, but like really spends a lot of time thinking about how to be the good person, what does it mean to be a good person, and how do I be a good person now that I can do these things.
Right.
So I really enjoyed that.
But I mean, things I really loved about the show, some of the same moments you did. The moments between the family, I specifically loved the moment towards the end. I love that and of course we predicted this all the way back when her mother made her the Hulk costume, that her mother would eventually be the one that makes her costume.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I loved that scene.
And it looks really good.
It does. That's actually something I want to mention. The fact that the costume's not CG.
Yeah.
You
can see the zigzag stitches.
I'm tired of the CG costumes. I think that's something that they're doing that is completely unnecessary. Welcome to the chat, Charles, by the way. Thanks for popping in. If you've seen the show, let us know what you thought. But a lot of the CG suits just don't look great. The ones in the movies have mostly looked fine.
Yeah.
The ones in the TV show, particularly Moon Knight, I just didn't care for the way. Now, you know, I can headcanon write it off as, oh, it's mystical, it's magic, but it doesn't look great.
Yeah, that's fair. And I really appreciate, you know, so this costume, back when I was making the first round of, one of the girls was going to be Black Widow and the other one was going to be Mockingbird. And they were really little. They were like 3 and 4. at the time, they were really, really young. And I'm like, man, I don't want to put a spandex bodysuit on my 3-year-old, right? So I was really looking for something where I felt like we could be a little girl and we could still be recognizable as our character. And this is actually, I think Andrew, he's like, look, why don't you look up some pictures of Miss Marvel. I know she's kind of got that look going on a little bit. So I really appreciate the vibe that she has, that we don't have to. I mean, she's 16. It's not like we've never over-sexualized 16-year-olds in the history of entertainment.
No, they certainly could have gone that route. But I mean, this character, it doesn't make sense.
And so that they went very, youthful in her look, and that she's, still, her look is, culturally appropriate for the world that she lives in, which would have been culturally appropriate for the world, the way I grew up. Like I would have never been caught dead in a black bodysuit as a teenager because I was just that person. And so it was kind of nice, but back then to have some, kind of a reference for like, okay, that just the look that she could be a superhero and she could be really cool, but she could still retain her youthful kind of, her kind of vibe, her youthful vibe.
I do wish, though, as far as things I wish had been in this episode, I really liked it. I really thought it was a good finale, particularly the personal arc.
Yes.
The thing is, and this is my only gripe, and it's not even a gripe about this show. They will do this and show Muslims in this light, which is fine. This is the way a Muslim family would be about what she's wearing. And even her as a Muslim would want to be modest. They would never, the MCU would never in a million years do a Christian character like this.
No, that's true. Because that would be oppressive and problematic. I have my own fraught opinions about
and again,
modesty.
that's not even a critique of this show. It has nothing to do with this show. I think this show did what it should, but I know that watching this as a Christian,
that we would never see.
This is the closest I will ever get to seeing my Christian values represented in the MCU.
Because Hollywood isn't that interested in treating Christianity with that much respect.
Oh no, not at all.
I mean, historically, we have rarely seen Islam depicted this well. This is kind of groundbreaking. In a really long time, we haven't seen anything other than specifically religious movies portray religious people this well. Generally, religious people are just portrayed badly. Christians, Muslims, Jews, everybody, it's like they're religious. Let's throw them under the bus. Let's make them the butt of all the jokes. So it was nice to see that kind of dealt with well. And it'd be nice to see my world depicted as with as much care, but I can't go places and see, and see Christianity portrayed well. Just not usually in Hollywood.
No, I mean, like, a lot of people are still sleeping on The Chosen, but it's one of the best shows on TV right now.
Man, if you are religious and you have not seen The Chosen, you are missing out. It is phenomenal. If anyone who is involved in the making of The Chosen is looking for a costumer, please hire me. That's just what I want to do with my life.
You're tired of working on these movies that never quite seem to release,
or that, like, my grandfather's like, what is this movie about? And I'm like, I ain't telling you what this movie's about.
So my only gripe, when we set off to do the school scene, the school fight, we were definitely leaning into a Home Alone sort of aesthetic with the way, planning it out on the board and all that. And I felt like it just is a little flat.
It could have delivered a little better.
Like, I mean, I didn't get to see, I would have
nobody's head set on fire.
Right. I would have liked to have seen some people go down a little harder. The only ones that really get hit hard. Now the the chemistry set, the elephant toothpaste or whatever it is,
so
was
funny.
a really fun one. That was a great, very Home Alone gag. But it's the only one other than Kamran just smashing people with lockers that really does anything to anybody.
Oh man. And that was the moment where I was like, ew, I think we're gonna go kind of dark here. But they didn't.
Hey, well, thanks for dropping by for a minute anyway.
Yeah.
We're gonna start trying to wrap up here in a minute. We are if anybody is still of Charles, our Dragon Buddy, if you're still in the chat, we are planning a big roundtable episode on this episode sometime right away.
So catch up.
So once you catch up, if you want to come join us for the roundtable, we'd love to have you.
It'll be fun. Too bad we don't actually have a round table.
Hey, Dragon Buddy and Charles were on my last roundtable episode for Tolkien, and it's currently by several thousand% my most viewed videos.
Yeah. There's something to be said for that.
So
maybe they were the magic element.
I'm certainly going to go there. Like I'll say
fair.
that. Like
that's a fair
conclusion. Who cares that it was a case of mistaken identity? I made it look too much like something else, totally by accident. But it worked.
It worked. Maybe
if I could figure out how to crack that code,
right?
Maybe we could get some viewers on here. I do appreciate those of you that pop in there.
Yeah, and it's always fun to have big groups of people and talk about the things. So we'll definitely.
But yeah, I would have loved a little more follow through on the kind of Home Alone idea of that. And instead of, because it really just kind of results in them running around for a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like a Scooby-Doo chase scene than, especially since they do the thing with all the matching sweaters,
all the hoodies.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't even make a Home Alone connection in my head, so I didn't have any expectations. But now that you say it, I was like, yeah, they were kind of setting that up, weren't they? Ooh, yeah.
So yeah, that's really kind of my only gripe. I felt like that scene just could have been a little more fun. I think it's fine. But I feel like it's more running around than anything actually happening.
Yeah, that's fair.
But overall for the episode, I love her arc. I love her final arc. I love how her parents embrace this new gift that she has.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that, again, that the suit comes from the mother and the name comes from her father. And
yeah, it's very sweet. Oh, we're so shocked because the dad had the speakerphone on.
Right.
I was like, oh, geez, yeah, we all know those people. My mother is those people. If anyone's keeping track.
My general rule of thumb on that is if you don't want me to participate in your phone conversation, then turn the speaker off. Otherwise, I will participate.
He will. Sometimes if he just hears what's happening, he'll still participate.
Why not? I heard it. Somebody's talking too loud or a phone is turned up way too high if I can hear the person on the phone.
Like anytime I'm on the phone with my sister, it's like a free-for-all. Andrew just assumes that he's part of the conversation.
So, but overall, series as a whole, what'd you think?
I really loved the series. I thought it had a lot of heart. And it wasn't perfect. There are some things I was like, I could have there were some I feel like we've got to keep it a secret shtick went on a little bit too long. Some of the CGI, in the bouncing, I feel like looked a little bit funny.
See, I thought it looked great. There were a few moments when she and Biggins that I thought looked a little weird, but let's be honest, that's kind of the same problem with Mr. Fantastic. I don't really know what the right way to make a stretchy person look natural.
Not look dumb.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of always the problem with making a Fantastic Four movie is how do you make this look interesting and not just goofy?
Yeah.
And And for all of that being said, I think they did a really good job with it.
Yeah, I think so. And I think you're right, Joker. I think that this is going to connect to a lot of things.
Yeah.
I think that they showed us little bits of lots of things.
We're definitely tying directly into the Marvels. In fact, I think we just saw the first scene from the Marvels here as at the end.
Right. Spoiler if you're still here, Dragon Buddy.
Yeah. So I mean, the her disappearing to wherever and Captain Marvel popping into the room. I didn't love the old Captain Marvel costume, but this one looks better.
Yeah, I thought it looks good.
And it's still Brie Larson, but it did look better.
Yeah.
All that being said, I'm still going to hold out some hope because, go back and watch old videos with Brie Larson. Like, she used to be a lot of fun. And maybe our, new young actress here can
bring that out
a little fun out of her.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't feel like Captain Marvel was particularly fun as a movie.
But I do think I do agree, Joker voice, with this. Like, I agree with everything there. It connects to a lot of important things. Not to mention it's our first mutant. But yeah, I don't think they threw the 10 rings in that scene for nothing. There's definitely a connection. In fact, I'm going to hold out a little hope that Shang-Chi shows up in the Marvels.
I really do enjoy what's his name, Simu Liu. He is a lot of fun. Oh, the Padawan. Aren't the Padawans cute?
Yeah, if they ever come back from camp, we'll let them finish up covering this thing.
I'll go into music camp, and they haven't called me once. Not once. Yeah, even I was talking to one of the chaperones. She's like, yeah, did you want to call and talk to your mom and dad? No. Padawans don't need me. Don't love me anymore until somebody gets sick. Then they'll need me so much.
Yep. But overall, I think great episode. I can't wait to talk to everybody about this one and hear a lot more sides to what they thought. And also keep an eye out. I don't know when, but at some point, David's going to be doing his own video covering the series.
Yes, and I think Maddie too, his girlfriend, who we've been saying, like, bring your girlfriend. See, this is our secret plan, is to like rope David's girlfriend into also doing podcasting, so that whenever they like decide to move like further down their relationship path, he won't bail on us. This is my plan in life. I've got it all figured out.
Whatever works. All right, guys. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode. Our coverage of Miss Marvel, the Miss Marvel finale, and the series as a whole. Overall, I'm going to still say it's my number 2 MCU series. You got any idea where you would rank it?
I don't know. Like, I really, really like WandaVision.
That's fair.
Loki.
WandaVision was, took the most chances, the most risks. So it kind of took a big swing.
2 or 3.
Okay.
I'd say 2 or 3. Like Moon Knight, it's definitely above Moon Knight. Definitely above Hawkeye. Like Hawkeye was fine. It was just like, it was fine. Which is funny because it's like your favorite. I can't decide just yet.
Okay.
So I'll go with 2 or 3.
All right. Well, so let everybody know where they can find you online if you're still there, if you're still online.
I am occasionally online. Like, okay, it's like really 5 weeks till Dragon Con. Like, I really have to get costumes done. And so the question will be, maybe I'll assign one of the kids to take, that's what I'll do. I'll assign one of the kids to take pictures so that I can have something to put on my Instagram, which is princesses_and_padawans on Instagram and Padawans on Twitter.
Yep, that's right.
I got it right this time.
All right. So you can find me running the Twitter account for this show at sci_fictionary. You can find the Science Fictionary podcast and Coruscant Radio Underground anywhere that you listen to podcasts. You can drop us a line at thesciencefictionary@gmail.com. And I think that's going to do it. We will see you soon. And until next time, may the force be with you.
This podcast is part of the Red 5 Network. For more Red 5 Network podcasts, visit red5network.com.